Welcome back to Froggy French, where family drama gets messier than a holiday dinner gone wrong. Today, we are diving into 13 jaw-dropping Reddit stories that will make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty, from inheritance battles to shocking affairs that tear families apart. These tales of betrayal, revenge, and moral dilemmas will keep you on the edge of your seat while showing you just how complicated family relationships can really get. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories, and let us know in the comments where you are listening from today. My brother inherited everything and now wants me to pay rent to visit our childhood home. So this is probably going to sound crazy, but I need some outside perspective because my family thinks I am being unreasonable. My dad passed away 8 months ago and left our family home to my older brother Marcus, who is 34. I am 28 and female. The house has been in our family for 3 generations and holds so many memories for both of us. When Dad got sick 2 years ago, Marcus moved back in to take care of him, which I really appreciated since I live about 4 hours away and have 2 young kids. I visited every other weekend and helped with medical appointments when I could, but Marcus definitely did the heavy lifting. I understood why Dad left him the house, and I was not bitter about it at first. But now Marcus has decided he wants to rent out my old bedroom to help with the mortgage and utilities. Fair enough, it is his house now. The weird part is, he told me that if I want to stay overnight when I visit, I need to pay him $50 per night like any other guest. He says it is only fair since he could be making money from that room otherwise. I was shocked because this is where I grew up and where I brought my kids to see their grandfather. My daughter is 5 and my son is 3, and they love playing in the backyard where Dad built them a swing set. Marcus says I can still visit during the day for free, but overnight stays are now a business transaction. Tried to explain that this feels really cold and that we are family, but he says he has bills to pay and cannot afford to give me free accommodations anymore. He works as a mechanic, and money has always been tight for him. I get that, but this feels like he is erasing my connection to our family home. My mom, who lives in Florida, now thinks I should just pay the $50 and stop complaining since Marcus inherited all the responsibilities along with the house. She says he has to pay property taxes and maintenance costs that I do not have to worry about. But it feels like he is treating me like a stranger in the place where I grew up. The last time I visited 2 weeks ago, I ended up driving 4 hours back home the same day because I could not bring myself to pay to sleep in my childhood bedroom. My kids were confused about why we could not have a sleepover at Uncle Marcus' house like we used to with Grandpa. Maybe I am being too emotional about this, but it just feels wrong. I understand he needs money, but there has to be a better way to handle this between family members. Marcus and I used to be close, but this whole situation is creating a lot of tension between us. Am I wrong to expect that I should be able to stay overnight at my childhood home without paying rent to my own brother? Wow, this one really hits me in the feelings because I can totally understand both sides here. On one hand, Marcus stepped up big time to care for your dad and inherited all the financial responsibility that comes with the house. Property taxes and maintenance are no joke, especially on an older family home. But charging your sister $50 a night to sleep in her childhood bedroom feels so harsh and transactional. I think there might be a middle ground here, like maybe you could contribute to utilities or property taxes in a different way, rather than paying per night like a hotel guest. The fact that your kids are losing their connection to their grandfather's house makes this even more heartbreaking. Family homes should bring people together, not drive them apart with business arrangements. Well, let's hope the next story has a happier family dynamic. Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids every weekend? I am a 25-year-old woman, and my sister Emma is 31 with 3 children, ages 4, 6, and 9. Emma got divorced last year and has been struggling to adjust to single motherhood while working full-time as a nurse. I really feel for her situation and have tried to help out when I can. The problem started about 4 months ago when Emma began asking me to watch her kids every Friday night and Saturday during the day. At first, she said it was just temporary while she figured out childcare, but now it has become expected every single weekend. She drops them off Friday around 6 and picks them up Saturday. Evening around 7, I work Monday through Friday at an accounting firm, and weekends used to be my time to relax, do laundry, catch up with friends, or just have some quiet time to myself. I am not married and do not have children, so Emma seems to think my weekends are automatically available for babysitting duty. Last weekend, I told Emma I had plans with friends and could not watch the kids. She got really upset and said I was being selfish because she needed to run errands and have some adult time. She mentioned that as their aunt, I should want to spend time with my nieces and nephew. I do love them, but 13 hours every weekend is a lot to handle. Especially when they are not my responsibility. Emma called our mom, who lives in another state, and complained that I was not being supportive during her difficult time. Mom called me and said I should help out more because Emma is going through a divorce and needs family support. She made me feel guilty by saying that Emma sacrificed a lot when she had kids young and now needs help from her family. But I feel like there is a difference between helping out occasionally and becoming a regular, unpaid babysitter every weekend. Emma has not offered to pay me or even buy groceries for when the kids are at my apartment. She acts like I owe her this help because I do not have my own children yet. I suggested Emma look into weekend childcare or ask her ex-husband to take the kids more often, but she says he is unreliable and childcare is too expensive. I understand money is tight for her, but I also think I deserve to have my own life and free time. The kids are generally well behaved, but it is exhausting to entertain 3 children for 13 hours straight. My small apartment is not really set up for kids, and I end up spending money on snacks activities and sometimes meals for them. Emma always thanks me, but never offers to reimburse these expenses. Yesterday, Emma texted asking if I could take the kids this weekend, and I said no because I wanted to visit my boyfriend who lives 2 hours away. She replied that I was being selfish and putting my social life ahead of family obligations. Now, I am wondering if I am being too harsh during her difficult time. Am I the asshole for setting boundaries about weekend babysitting when my sister really needs the help? Oh, honey, you are definitely not the asshole here. I completely understand wanting to help your sister during a tough time, but becoming a free weekend babysitter for 13 hours straight is way beyond normal family support. Emma is taking advantage of your kindness, and the fact that you do not have kids of your own does not mean your time is less valuable. It sounds like Emma needs to have some difficult conversations with her ex about taking the kids more often or figure out other childcare arrangements. You helping occasionally is one thing, but every single weekend is unsustainable and unfair to you. Setting boundaries does not make you selfish, it makes you human. Moving on to what I hope is a more balanced family situation. I exposed my stepmother's lies about my inheritance, and she lost everything. This happened 6 months ago, but the fallout is still ongoing, and I am not sure if I did the right thing. My father died 3 years ago when I was 26 and left me his house and a decent savings account. My stepmother, Linda, who is 52, had been married to him for 8 years, and they seemed happy together. After Dad died, Linda told me that he had changed his will shortly before his death and left everything to her instead of me. She showed me what looked like an official will with his signature that gave her the house and all his assets. I was devastated because Dad and I were very close, and he had always told me the house would be mine someday. Linda said she felt bad about the situation and offered to let me rent my childhood bedroom for $300 a month until I could find my own place. She said Dad wanted to make sure she was taken care of in her older years, and that he knew I was young enough to build my own wealth. It seemed cruel, but the will looked legitimate, and I did not know what else to do. I lived there for 2 years paying rent and watching Linda redecorate the house, and spend what I thought was my inheritance on expensive vacations and a new car. She would make comments about how Dad really loved her more than he loved me, and how blood is not always thicker than water. It was painful, but I tried to accept the situation and move on with my life. Last year, I started dating a lawyer named James, who suggested I have the will examined by a professional just to be absolutely sure it was legitimate. I had always had this nagging feeling that something was wrong, but Linda seemed so confident, and I did not want to cause family drama over money. The handwriting expert we hired determined that Dad's signature on Linda's will was forged, and not very skillfully either. We also discovered that the real will was filed with Dad's lawyer, and it did leave everything to me just like he had always promised. Linda had been lying to me for 2 years and stealing my inheritance while charging me rent to live. In my own house, I confronted Linda with the evidence, and she broke down crying, admitting that she had forged the will because she was terrified of being homeless and broke after Dad died. She begged me not to involve the police and promised to make things right. But the damage was already done. I kicked her out of the house immediately and demanded that she return all the money she had stolen from the estate. She had already spent most of it on her lifestyle and vacations, so she could only pay back about 30% of what she owed me. I ended up having to take her to court to get liens on her new car and force the sale of some jewelry Dad had bought. Linda is now living in a small apartment and working 2 jobs to pay me back the money she stole. Some of Dad's friends and Linda's family think I was too harsh and should have worked out a private arrangement instead of destroying her financially. They say she was grieving and scared and made bad decisions, but did not deserve to lose everything. I feel bad seeing how her life has fallen apart, but she stole from me for 2 years and made me pay rent in my own house. She could have just been honest about her financial fears, and I might have helped her instead of her choosing to lie and steal from me. Did I go too far in pursuing legal action against my stepmother, or was I right to expose her lies and get my inheritance back? Holy cow, this story just kept getting worse and worse. 2 years of paying rent in your own house while watching your stepmother live it up with your inheritance money is absolutely infuriating. I cannot believe she had the nerve to make comments about your father loving her more while literally stealing from you every day. I do feel a tiny bit sorry for Linda because grief and fear can make people do terrible things, but forging a will is not a mistake. It is a calculated crime that she maintained for 2 whole years. She could have come clean at any point or asked for help instead of doubling down on the lie. You showed more mercy than I would have, honestly. Let's see if the next story involves any honest family members. I found out my uncle has been having an affair with my mother, and I do not know what to do. I am 19 years old and still living at home while attending community college. My parents have been married for 22 years, and my dad's brother, Uncle Mike, has been part of our family gatherings and holidays for as long as I can remember. He got divorced about 5 years ago and has been spending more time at our house since then. About 3 weeks ago, I came home early from class because my professor was sick and canceled our lab session. I expected the house to be empty since Mom works part-time at a dental office, and Dad was supposed to be at work until 6. But when I walked in, I heard voices coming from upstairs and assumed Mom had come home sick or something. I went upstairs to check on her and saw Uncle Mike's shoes outside my parents' bedroom door. The door was slightly open, and I could see them together in a way that made it very clear what was happening. I was completely shocked and just stood there frozen for a few seconds before quietly going back downstairs and leaving the house. I have been carrying this secret for 3 weeks now, and it is eating me alive. I keep watching my dad at dinner making conversation with Uncle Mike, not knowing that his brother is betraying him in the worst possible way. Dad talks about work stress, and Mom pretends to be supportive, while I know she is lying to his face every single day. Uncle. Mike still comes over for Sunday dinners and acts completely normal, joking around with Dad and bringing dessert like always. Mom has been acting a bit nervous around me, and I think she suspects I might know something, but we have not talked about it. The whole family dynamic feels fake now that I know what is really going on behind Dad's back. I have been losing sleep and having trouble concentrating in my classes because I keep thinking about whether I should tell Dad or confront Mom and Uncle Mike directly. Part of me thinks Dad deserves to know the truth, but another part of me is terrified about what this will do to our family. Dad and Uncle Mike work together at the same construction company, so this would probably destroy their professional relationship too. My parents seem happy most of the time, and Dad has no idea anything is wrong. Would telling him actually help the situation, or would I just be destroying his happiness for no good reason? Maybe the affair will end on its own, and no one else needs to get hurt by this information. But then I think about how Dad trusts Uncle Mike completely and includes him in family plans and business decisions, not knowing he is being stabbed in the back. It feels wrong to let this continue, but I also do not want to be the one who blows up our entire family over something that might not even be serious or long-term. I thought about talking to my older sister who is married and lives across town, but I do not want to burden her with this secret either. She is pregnant with her first baby and does not need this kind of family drama right now. What should I do about discovering my mother's affair with my uncle? Oh wow, this is just devastating on so many levels. Discovering your mom cheating is horrible enough, but with your dad's own brother makes it 10 times worse. The fact that you have to sit through family dinners, watching everyone act normal while knowing this. massive secret is absolutely heartbreaking. I really feel for you being stuck in this impossible position where every choice seems wrong. Your dad definitely deserves to know, but I understand being terrified about destroying the whole family dynamic and their work relationship too. This is way too much responsibility for a 19-year-old to handle alone. Hopefully, our next family story involves people who actually respect each other. I found disturbing photos hidden in my grandmother's attic, and now I am questioning everything I know about my family. I am 20, 4 years old, and my grandmother passed away too. Months ago, at the age of 87, she had been living alone in the same house for 30 years, and my family asked me to help clean out her belongings since I live closest to her old neighborhood. Grandma Rose was always the sweet matriarch of our family who baked cookies and sent birthday cards to everyone. Last weekend, I was going through boxes in her attic looking for photo albums and family documents when I found a metal box hidden behind some old Christmas decorations. The box was locked, but the metal was old and rusty, so I was able to pry it open with a screwdriver, thinking it might contain jewelry or important papers. Inside the box were dozens of black and white photographs from what looked like the 1950s or 60s. At first, I thought they were just old family photos, but as I looked closer, I realized they showed people who appeared to be in distress or unconscious. The photos were disturbing and seemed to document something terrible, but I could not figure out exactly what I was looking at. There were also newspaper clippings about missing persons cases from that time period, and a journal with dates and locations written in my grandmother's handwriting. Some of the entries mentioned names that matched the missing person reports. The handwriting was definitely Grandma's because I recognized it from birthday cards she had sent me over the years. I found documents that suggested my grandmother and grandfather had been involved in some kind of organization or group that I had never heard anyone in the family mention. There were membership cards and meeting notes that used strange language about purification and cleansing. My grandfather died when I was 10, and I always remembered him as a quiet man who worked at the post office. The most disturbing part was finding what looked like detailed plans or maps of local areas with marks and notes about timing and locations. Some of the papers had addresses that I recognized as places where people had gone missing, according to the newspaper clippings. Everything seemed to be connected in a way that made my stomach turn. I have not told anyone in my family about what I found because I do not even know how to begin that conversation. How do you tell people that the sweet grandmother they loved and trusted might have been involved in something horrible decades ago? Everyone has such positive memories of Grandma, and I feel like I would be destroying those memories with information that might not even be accurate. But I also cannot stop thinking about the families of those missing people and whether they deserve to know what might have happened to their loved ones. Some of those cases are probably still unsolved, and the information I found could provide closure or justice for people who have been waiting for answers for decades. I keep going, back and forth between thinking I am imagining connections that are not really there and believing that I have stumbled onto evidence of something truly terrible. Maybe there is an innocent explanation for everything I found, but the combination of photos, documents, and newspaper clippings seems too specific to be coincidental. Part of me wants to just burn everything and pretend I never found it, but another part of me thinks I have a responsibility to share this information with someone who can determine if it is important. I am scared about what this might mean for my family's reputation and how it might change the way we remember Grandma and Grandpa. Should I contact the police about what I found in my grandmother's attic or try to handle this within the family first? Oh my goodness. This gave me chills reading it. Finding something like that would completely turn your world upside down and make you question everything you thought you knew about your family. The sweet cookie baking grandmother hiding such dark secrets is like something out of a horror movie, but unfortunately, real life can be just as terrifying. I think you absolutely need to contact the police because if there really are unsolved missing person cases connected to what you found, then those families deserve answers even after all these years. This is way too big and potentially important to handle within the family first. What a terrible burden to carry alone. On to hopefully something much lighter and less criminal. My sister uninvited me from her wedding because I refused to dye my hair brown. This whole situation feels so ridiculous that I almost cannot believe it is real. But here we are 3 weeks before my sister's wedding, and I am no longer invited. I am 26 and my sister Chloe is 29, and we have generally gotten along well our entire lives until this wedding planning started. Chloe is getting married to her fiancé, David, in what she describes as a rustic, elegant outdoor ceremony. She has been planning this wedding for 18 months and has very specific ideas about how everything should look, including what the wedding party should wear and apparently how we should style our hair. I have naturally bright red hair that I have never dyed or changed since it is pretty unique, and I really love the color. People have always complimented my hair, and it has become part of my identity over the years. Chloe also has red hair, but hers is more of an auburn shade, while mine is closer to a true ginger color. 6 months ago, Chloe asked me to be her maid of honor, which I was excited about since we are only 2 years apart and have always been close. But last month, she told me that she wants all the bridesmaids to have brown hair for the photos because red hair will clash with her color. Scheme of dusty rose and sage green decorations, she showed me inspiration. Photos from Pinterest where all the bridesmaids had similar brown hair colors and said it would create a more cohesive look for the wedding photos. Chloe said she had already talked to the other 3 bridesmaids, and they were all willing to dye their hair temporary. Brown for the wedding. I told her I was not comfortable dyeing my hair even temporarily because red hair can be really difficult to get back to the original color once you change it. I offered to wear it in a different style or use accessories to make it work better with her color scheme, but she insisted that only brown hair would look right. Chloe got upset and said I was being selfish and not supporting her vision for her special day. She said the other bridesmaids were making sacrifices for her wedding, and I should be willing to do the same. I tried to explain that hair color feels more personal and permanent than choosing a dress or shoes, but she did not seem to understand my concerns. 2 weeks ago, Chloe told me that if I would not dye my hair, then I could not be in the wedding party, but I was still welcome to attend as a regular guest. I thought that was a fair compromise, even though I was disappointed about not being maid of honor anymore. But then last week she called me and said that even as a guest, my red hair would still show up in photos and ruin the aesthetic she was going for. She said she had spent too much money and time planning the perfect color scheme to have it ruined by my hair color. Chloe uninvited me completely and said maybe we could celebrate privately after she gets back from her honeymoon. Our parents are staying out of it because they do not want to take sides, but I can tell they think Chloe is being unreasonable. Our mom has red hair too, and she made a comment about how ridiculous it is to expect family members to change their appearance for photos. I am hurt and confused because I never thought my sister would prioritize her color scheme over having me at her wedding. We have been planning to celebrate this day together since we were kids, and now I am completely excluded because of my hair color. Am I wrong to refuse to dye my hair? Or is my sister being unreasonable about her wedding requirements? I am honestly speechless at how shallow and controlling your sister is being about this wedding. Asking you to dye your naturally beautiful red hair for photos is absolutely insane. And then uninviting you completely is just cruel. The fact that she thinks a color scheme is more important than having her own sister at her wedding shows how far she has gone down the Bridezilla rabbit hole. Red hair is gorgeous and rare, and asking someone to change something so permanent about their appearance for one day of photos is completely unreasonable. I predict she is going to regret missing having you there way more than she would have regretted having red hair in her precious photos. Hopefully, the next family has more reasonable people in it. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay for my brother's wedding after he insulted my wife? My brother Kevin is 28 and getting married next month to his girlfriend of 3 years. I am 32 and have been married to my wife Sarah for 5 years. Kevin has always been the type of person who speaks before he thinks, and sometimes says hurtful things without realizing the impact of his words. 6 months ago, Kevin asked me to help pay for his wedding because he and his fiancée are both still in graduate school and do not have much money saved up. I make decent money as an engineer, and Sarah and I do not have children yet, so we have some extra income available. I agreed to contribute $5,000 toward the wedding as a gift to help them get started. The problem happened 3 weeks ago at a family barbecue at our parents' house. Sarah had been trying to get pregnant for about 2 years, and we recently found out that she has some fertility issues that might make it difficult for us to have children naturally. We have not shared this information with extended family yet because it is still fresh and painful for both of us. During the barbecue, Kevin was talking about his wedding plans and mentioned how excited he is to start having children right away after the wedding. Then he looked at Sarah and me and said something like, maybe we should take notes since we have been married for 5 years and still have not figured out how to make a baby yet. Sarah excused herself and went inside, and I could tell she was upset. Kevin continued making jokes about our lack of children and suggesting that maybe we were not trying hard enough or doing it wrong. Other family members looked uncomfortable, but no one really said anything to stop him. I pulled Kevin aside later and told him that his comments were inappropriate and hurtful, especially since he does not know anything about our personal situation. Kevin said he was just joking around and I was being too sensitive about some harmless teasing between brothers. Explained that fertility is a sensitive topic and he should not make assumptions or jokes about why people do or do not have children. Kevin rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting and that Sarah needs to develop thicker skin if she wants to be part of our family. That comment really crossed the line for me because Sarah has always been nothing but kind and supportive to Kevin even when his jokes go too far. She has helped him with school projects, listened to him complain about his relationship problems, and treated him like the brother she never had. I told Kevin that I was withdrawing my financial support for his wedding and that he needed to apologize to Sarah before I would consider changing my mind. Kevin said I was being ridiculous and using money to manipulate him over a silly misunderstanding that Sarah should just get over. Kevin called our parents and complained that I was ruining his wedding over a joke and that Sarah was being dramatic about something that was not even that serious. Mom called me and asked if I could just let it go for the sake of family harmony since Kevin is stressed about the wedding and did not mean any harm. Sarah told me she appreciates me standing up for her but does not want to be the reason Kevin's wedding gets ruined or why our family has drama. She said she can handle Kevin's thoughtless comments and I do not need to withdraw financial support over her feelings getting hurt, but I feel like Kevin needs to learn that his words have consequences and that he cannot treat people badly just because he thinks he is being funny. He has never apologized to Sarah and continues to act like we are the ones with the problem for being too sensitive. I the asshole for withdrawing wedding money because my brother insulted my wife about our fertility struggles. Absolutely. Not the asshole here, and honestly, good for you for standing up for your wife when she needed you most. Kevin's comments were not just thoughtless, they were deliberately cruel, especially after you explained why they were hurtful. The fact that he doubled down and said Sarah needs thicker skin instead of apologizing shows he is not sorry at all. Money comes with no strings attached when it is a gift, but it also means you can choose not to give it when someone treats your family badly. Kevin clearly thinks he can say whatever he wants without consequences, and maybe losing wedding money will teach him that actions have results. Your wife is lucky to have someone who will actually defend her when family members cross the line. Moving on to hopefully more respectful family dynamics. I got my deadbeat cousin fired from his dream job after he refused to pay me back. This story goes back about 2 years, but the revenge part just happened last month, and I am still processing whether I did the right thing. My cousin Tyler, who is 31, has always been the type of person who borrows money and finds excuses not to pay it back. We grew up close since our moms are sisters, but his financial habits have always been a problem. 2 years ago, Tyler called me in a panic because he was about to lose his apartment and needed $2,000 to catch up on rent and avoid eviction. He had just lost his job at a restaurant and was waiting to hear back about interviews for better positions. Tyler begged me to help him and promised he would pay me back. Within 3 months, once he got back on his feet, I felt sorry for him because housing is expensive in our city, and I knew he had been struggling financially since college. I had some money saved up from working overtime, so I decided to lend him the $2,000, even though my girlfriend warned me that Tyler had a history of not paying people back. Tyler got a new job. About 6 weeks later, working at a marketing firm doing social media management, which was actually perfect for his skills and interests. He seemed really happy with the position and was making good money for the first time in years. I was excited for him and figured he would start paying me back soon like he had promised. But months went by and Tyler kept making excuses about why he could not pay me back yet. First, it was that he needed to buy work clothes and catch up on other bills. Then it was car repairs and his grandmother's medical expenses. There was always some reason why he could not afford to send me even small payments toward what he owed. Me, after a year of excuses, I started asking more directly about the money, and Tyler would get defensive, saying I was pressuring him and making him feel bad about his financial situation. He said I knew he was struggling when I lent him the money and I should not expect him to pay it back before he was completely stable. That really bothered me because I had specifically lent him the money with the understanding that it would be paid back within 3 months. Tyler was treating my loan like it was a gift and acting like I was being greedy for expecting my money back when he clearly had income from his new job. Last year, Tyler got promoted at work and started posting on social media about his new apartment, expensive dinners, and weekend trips with friends. It was obvious that he had money to spend on fun things, but was still ignoring his debt to me. When I brought this up, he said those expenses were necessary for his mental health and career networking. 6 months ago, I gave Tyler an ultimatum that he needed to start making monthly payments of at least $100 toward what he owed me, or I was going to take legal action. Tyler laughed and said I would never actually sue family over money and that I should just accept that sometimes loans between relatives do not work out as planned. That attitude really made me angry because Tyler was basically stealing from me and acting like it was my fault for trusting him. I decided I was done being nice about the situation and started looking into ways to hold him accountable for the money he owed me. I remembered that Tyler had gotten his job at the marketing firm through a connection with someone I used to work with. I reached out to my former colleague who now works as a director at that company and casually mentioned that Tyler had borrowed money from me and refused to pay it back. Despite having a good income, my colleague was surprised because the company has policies about employees maintaining good financial reputations since they handle client money and sensitive information. Apparently, Tyler had not disclosed on his job application that he had outstanding debts or financial disputes with family members. Long story short, the company investigated Tyler's situation and decided that his dishonesty about his financial problems and his refusal to honor debts made him a liability for their business reputation. They fired him 3 weeks ago, and Tyler immediately called me screaming about how I had ruined his life and destroyed his career over money. Now, Tyler is unemployed again, and our entire extended family is involved in the drama. Some relatives think I went too far and should have handled this privately instead of involving his workplace. Others say Tyler brought this on himself by refusing to pay back money he legitimately owed. Tyler's mom called my mom crying about how I destroyed her son's future and reputation in their industry. She offered to pay me the $2,000 herself if I would help. Tyler get his job back somehow, but I told her it was too late for that, and Tyler needed to face the consequences of his choices. Was I wrong to get my cousin fired from his job over the money he owed me, or did he deserve what happened for refusing to honor his debt? Wow. Tyler really had this coming for a long time with his entitled attitude about borrowing money and never paying it back. The fact that he was posting about expensive trips and dinners while refusing to pay you back shows he never intended to honor his debt and was basically stealing from you with a smile. I do think getting him fired was pretty nuclear, but he literally told you he would never pay you back and laughed about it like he was untouchable. Sometimes people need serious consequences to learn that their actions affect others. The lying on his job application about financial issues was his own choice, and you just provided information that was already true. Let's see what family drama comes next. My married sister is having an emotional affair with her yoga instructor and wants me to cover for her. My sister Jessica is 34 and has been married to her husband Mark for 8 years. They have 2 kids together, ages 5 and 7. And from the outside, they seem to have a pretty solid marriage. I am 29 and single, so Jessica often comes to me for advice about relationships and life in general. About 6 months ago, Jessica started taking yoga classes at a studio near her house as a way to manage stress from her job as a nurse. She really got into it and started going 3 or 4 times a week, which seemed great since she had been feeling overwhelmed with work and parenting responsibilities. But over the past few months, Jessica has been talking nonstop about her yoga. instructor David, who is apparently in his early 30s and recently moved here from California. She describes him as wise and spiritually connected and says he gives the most amazing advice about finding inner peace and living authentically. At first, I thought it was just a normal student-teacher appreciation thing, but Jessica started staying. After classes to talk with David privately and texting him about personal problems that had nothing to do with yoga. She showed me some of their text conversations, and they definitely crossed the line into inappropriate territory for a married woman and her fitness instructor. David asks Jessica about her marriage and suggests that she deserves to be with someone who truly understands her spiritual journey. Jessica tells him about problems she and Mark are having, and David validates her feelings while subtly criticizing Mark for not being more emotionally available or supportive of Jessica's personal growth. Jessica has started going to yoga workshops on weekends and taking private sessions with David that she pays for out of her personal spending money without telling Mark. She says David is helping her discover who she really is, underneath all the roles of wife and mother and employee. Last month, Jessica asked me to cover for her when she went to a yoga retreat weekend that David was leading about 2 hours away. She told Mark she was going with me for a sister bonding weekend and asked me to confirm the story if he called or texted asking about our plans. I felt really uncomfortable lying to Mark, who I have always liked and respected, but Jessica said, it was not technically cheating since nothing physical was happening between her and David. She said it was just a spiritual connection and she needed space to explore her personal growth without Mark judging her or trying to control her choices. But the way Jessica talks about David and lights up when she mentions him makes it obvious that she has developed romantic feelings, even if they have not acted on them physically yet. She compares everything Mark does to what David would do and criticizes Mark for not being as emotionally intelligent or spiritually aware. Jessica has started dressing differently and talking about concepts like twin flames and soul connections that she obviously learned from David. She says Mark does not understand her on a deep level like David does, and that her marriage feels emotionally empty compared to the connection she has found through yoga and spiritual practice. Yesterday, Jessica asked me to cover for her again, because David invited her to a private meditation session at his apartment this weekend, while Mark thinks she is helping me move furniture. I told her I was not comfortable lying to her husband anymore, especially about her spending alone time at another man's apartment. Jessica got angry and said I was judging her for trying to find happiness and personal fulfillment. She said her relationship with David was pure and spiritual, and that I was being closed-minded about different types of connections between people. She accused me of not supporting her during a difficult time in her marriage. I tried to explain that even if nothing physical has happened yet, she was clearly having an emotional affair and lying to her husband about spending time with another man she has feelings for. Jessica said emotional connections are not cheating, and that Mark would not understand the spiritual nature of her relationship with David. She said if I was really her sister, I would support her journey of self-discovery instead of trying to make her feel guilty about finding someone who actually listens to her and values her thoughts and feelings. Jessica said Mark takes her for granted and never makes time for deep conversations about life and meaning like David does. I feel torn because I want to support my sister, but I also think she is heading down a dangerous path that will destroy her marriage and hurt her children. Mark is a good father and husband who works hard to provide for their family even if he is not as emotionally expressive as David apparently is. Should I continue covering for my sister's emotional affair or tell her I cannot lie to her husband anymore about where she is spending her time? This is such a classic emotional affair situation, and your sister is completely lying to herself about it being spiritual and pure. The fact that she wants you to cover for private apartment visits shows she knows exactly what she is doing wrong. Emotional affairs can be just as damaging as physical ones, and she is already checking out of her marriage emotionally. You are absolutely right to refuse to lie for her anymore, because you would basically become an accomplice in destroying Mark's marriage without him even knowing what is happening. Jessica needs a reality check about where this is heading before she ruins her family for some yoga instructor who is probably feeding the same lines to other married women. Hopefully, the next story involves more honest communication. My brother has been secretly recording family members, and I found hundreds of videos on his computer. I am 22 years old, and my brother Danny is 25. We both still live at our parents' house while finishing college and saving money. Danny has always been a bit antisocial and spends most of his time in his room playing video games or working on computer programming projects. Our parents think he is just focused on his studies and future career. Last week, Danny asked me to use his laptop to print something for school because my computer was having printer issues. He said his password was written on a sticky note under his keyboard, and I could log in and use it quickly. I found the password and logged in without thinking much about it. Since we have borrowed each other's devices. Before. While I was waiting for my document to print, I noticed a folder on his desktop labeled with my name, which seemed odd. Curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked on it thinking maybe it contained photos of us together, or something innocent like that. Instead, I found dozens of video files that appeared to be recordings of me in my bedroom and bathroom. I was shocked and horrified, and immediately checked if there were folders with other family members' names. There were separate folders for our parents, our sister who visits from college, and even our grandmother who stays with us sometimes. Each folder contained hours and hours of video recordings, taken without anyone's knowledge or consent. The videos showed family members in private moments, like changing clothes, showering, sleeping, and having personal conversations. Some of the recordings went back years based on the dates and showed Danny had been systematically spying on our entire family for a very long time. I found recordings of private conversations between our parents about their marriage and finances. There were videos of our sister talking on the phone with boyfriends and discussing personal problems. The bathroom recordings were especially disturbing and showed family members in completely vulnerable situations. My hands were shaking as I realized the scope of what Danny had been doing. He had somehow set up hidden cameras throughout our house and had been recording all of us without anyone suspecting anything. The technical setup must have taken considerable planning and effort over several years. I also found files that showed Danny had been organizing and cataloging the videos by person, date, and location. He had created a detailed system for tracking everyone's routines and habits based on the surveillance footage. Some files contained notes about family members' schedules and behavioral patterns. The most disturbing part was finding evidence that Danny had been sharing some of the videos with other people online. There were chat logs and file-sharing records that showed he had been trading our family's private recordings with strangers on the internet for money or other content. I copied some of the evidence onto a flash drive and immediately left the house because I felt sick and scared knowing Danny might come home at any time. I have been staying with a friend for the past week while trying to figure out what to do with this information. No, I need to tell our parents what I discovered, but I am terrified about how this will destroy our family. Danny has been violating all of us for years and sharing our most private moments with strangers online. Our parents will be devastated and horrified when they find out what their son has been doing. I am also worried about the legal implications since Danny has been recording people without consent and distributing the videos online. This could involve police and courts and public exposure of our family's private business, which feels like another violation on top of what Danny already did to us. But I keep thinking about how Danny is still recording all of us every day and sharing those recordings with strangers while we have no idea it is happening. Our grandmother was just here last weekend, and Danny probably recorded her too without her knowledge or consent. I feel like I cannot go back home knowing that Danny might be watching and recording everything I do, but I also cannot let this continue happening to the rest of my family. Everyone deserves to know what Danny has been. Doing so they can protect themselves and decide how to handle this situation. Should I tell our parents immediately about Danny's secret recordings or try to confront him directly? First, to see if he will stop on his own. Oh my God, this is absolutely terrifying and such a massive violation of privacy for your entire family. The fact that Danny has been doing this for years and sharing the videos online makes this so much worse than just creepy behavior. This is serious criminal activity that has been going on under your parents' roof without anyone knowing. You absolutely need to tell your parents and probably the police immediately because this is not something Danny is going to stop doing voluntarily. The level of planning and technical setup involved shows this was deliberate and ongoing criminal behavior, not just curiosity or poor judgment. Your family deserves to know they have been violated and needs to protect themselves from further recording. Let's move on to something much less disturbing, please. My ex-husband keeps undermining my parenting rules and turning our daughter against me. I have been divorced from my ex-husband Tom for 3 years now, and we share custody of our 8-year-old daughter Lily. The divorce was difficult, but I thought we had worked out a decent co-parenting arrangement. That would be best for Lily's well-being and stability. Tom gets Lily every other weekend and one evening during the week plus alternating holidays. I have her the majority of the time and handle most of the day-to-day parenting responsibilities, like school pickup, doctor appointments, and helping with homework. This arrangement worked well for the first 2 years after our divorce, but over the past year, Tom has been deliberately undermining the rules and structure I have established at home. At my house, Lily has a bedtime of 8:30 on school nights, limited screen time, and has to do her homework before any fun activities. She also has age-appropriate chores like keeping her room tidy and helping set the table for dinner when Lily comes back from weekends. With Tom, she tells me about staying up until midnight watching movies, eating junk food for breakfast, and spending entire days playing video games without any homework or responsibilities. Tom buys her expensive toys and clothes that I cannot afford and takes her to theme parks and fancy restaurants every weekend. Lily has started comparing everything I do to what her father does and complaining that my house is boring and too strict. She asks why I cannot be fun like Daddy and says she wishes she could live with him full-time instead of me. These comments break my heart because I am trying to provide stability and structure while Tom gets to be the fun weekend parent when I try to enforce bedtime or homework rules. Lily throws tantrums and says Daddy does not make her do these things and that I am being mean for no reason. She has become increasingly defiant and disrespectful when she returns from Tom's house, and it takes several days to get her back into a normal routine. I have tried talking to Tom about maintaining consistent rules between our homes, but he says I am too controlling and that Lily should be able to enjoy her childhood without excessive structure. He claims that my rules are too strict and that children need freedom to express themselves and have fun. Tom tells Lily that I am trying to keep her from having fun and that she does not have to follow my rules if she thinks they are unfair. He has taught her to call him if she is upset about anything. I do, and he will come talk to me about being less strict with her parenting. Last month, Lily had a complete meltdown when I told her she could not have ice cream before dinner, and she called Tom crying that I was being mean to her. Tom drove over to my house and lectured me in front of Lily about being more flexible and understanding with her emotional needs. This week, Lily refused to do her homework and said Daddy told her that third grade homework is stupid busy work and that she is smart enough to succeed in school without wasting time on worksheets. When I insisted she complete her assignments, she screamed that she hates living with me and wants to move in with Daddy permanently. I am exhausted from constantly being the bad guy who enforces rules while Tom gets to be the beloved parent who lets her do whatever she wants. Lily's behavior has gotten worse at school too, and her teacher mentioned that she has been defiant and argumentative. In class lately, I know that children need structure and boundaries to feel secure, but Tom is making it impossible for me to provide consistent parenting when he contradicts everything I do. I feel like I am losing my daughter's respect and affection because I am the parent who has to say no and maintain discipline. Our custody agreement says we should make parenting decisions together, but Tom ignores this and does whatever he thinks will make Lily happy in the moment. I am worried that his approach is hurting her development and our relationship, but I do not know how to fix this situation. Should I take Tom back to court to modify our custody arrangement or try to find another way to handle his undermining of my parenting? This is such a frustrating situation and unfortunately way too common after divorces. When one parent decides to be the fun parent while the other handles all the actual parenting responsibilities, Tom is basically teaching your daughter that rules do not matter and that she can manipulate situations by playing you against each other. The fact that he is coaching her to call him when you enforce boundaries is particularly manipulative and harmful to your relationship with Lily. She needs consistent structure and consequences, but Tom is sabotaging that for his own ego and to be the favorite parent. You might need to document this behavior and consider going back to court because this pattern will only get worse as she gets older. Moving on to hopefully better family communication. Am I the asshole for telling my parents about my sister's eating disorder when she begged me not to? This happened 2 months ago. but I am still getting conflicting advice from friends about whether I did the right thing. My sister Emma is 17 and I am 21. We have always been close, and she trusts me with secrets that she does not share with our parents or her friends at school. About 6 months ago, I started noticing that Emma was losing weight and seemed obsessed with exercising and counting calories. She would make comments about feeling fat, even though she was already thin, and started wearing baggy clothes to hide her body. Emma also became moody and withdrawn, which was unusual for her normally cheerful personality. When I asked Emma directly if she was okay, she broke down and admitted that she had been restricting her eating and exercising excessively for several months. She said she felt out of control in other areas of her life, and that controlling her food intake and weight made her feel better about herself. Emma showed me food diary apps on her phone where she was tracking every single calorie and recording her weight multiple times per day. She was eating less than 800 calories most days and doing intense cardio workouts for over 2 hours every evening after school and homework. I was really scared because Emma looked fragile and unhealthy compared to how she used to look. Her skin was pale, her hair seemed thinner, and she was always cold even when the weather was warm. Emma admitted that she was having trouble concentrating in school and felt dizzy or weak frequently. I tried to convince Emma to talk to our parents or a counselor about what she was going through, but she begged me not to tell anyone about her eating problems. She said she was embarrassed and ashamed and that she could handle it on her own without getting parents or doctors involved. Emma made me promise that I would keep her secret and said she trusted me more than anyone else in the world. She said if I told our parents, she would never confide in me again and would find other ways to cope with her problems that might be even worse. For several weeks, I tried to help Emma on my own by encouraging her to eat more and suggesting healthier ways to manage stress and anxiety. But Emma continued losing weight and seemed to be getting sicker instead of better, despite my attempts to support her. I did some research online about eating disorders and learned that they can become life-threatening if not treated professionally. The websites I read said that family support and medical intervention are usually necessary for recovery and that trying to handle it alone rarely works. After watching Emma faint during a family dinner, I decided that I could not keep her secret anymore when her health was clearly in danger. I told our parents everything Emma had shared with me about her eating restriction and excessive exercise habits. Our parents immediately took Emma to see a doctor and then a therapist who specializes in eating disorders. Emma was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa and started intensive outpatient treatment, including regular medical monitoring and weekly therapy sessions. Emma was furious with me for breaking her confidence and said I had betrayed her trust when she needed my support the most. She stopped talking to me for several weeks and told our parents that she felt like she could not trust anyone in the family anymore. Our parents thanked me for speaking up and said they wished I had told them sooner because Emma's condition was more serious than they had realized. The doctor said that Emma was medically underweight and could have developed serious health complications if the eating disorder had continued untreated. Emma is doing better now after 2 months of treatment and has gained some weight back. She is still in therapy, and our whole family is learning about how to support someone recovering from an eating disorder. Emma has started talking to me again, but our relationship still feels strained. Some of my friends think I did the right thing by prioritizing Emma's health over her privacy, but others think I should have respected her wishes and found other ways to help her without involving our parents. I keep wondering if I could have handled the situation differently while still keeping Emma safe. Am I the asshole for telling my parents about my sister's eating disorder when she explicitly asked me to keep it secret? You absolutely did the right thing and probably saved your sister's life by speaking up when you did. Eating disorders can be fatal, and Emma was clearly in medical danger based on her symptoms and the doctor's assessment. She was not in a position to make rational decisions about her health while she was sick. The fact that she fainted at dinner shows how serious her condition had become, and waiting longer could have resulted in hospitalization or worse consequences. Sometimes being a good sister means making hard choices that temporarily damage the relationship but protect the person you love. Emma will hopefully understand this better as she recovers and gets healthier. On to our final family story. I discovered my father-in-law is having an affair with my husband's sister, and I do not know who to tell first. I am 30 years old and have been married to my husband Jake for 4 years. His family has always been very close-knit and welcoming to me, which made this discovery even more shocking and devastating. Jake's father, Robert, is 58 and recently divorced from Jake's mother after 25 years of marriage. Jake's sister, Michelle, is 32 and went through her own divorce about 2 years ago. The divorce between Robert and Jake's mother. Helen was supposedly amicable, and they claimed it was just because they had grown apart over the years. Helen moved to a different state to be closer to her own family, while Robert stayed in the house where Jake and Michelle grew up. Everyone seemed to be adjusting well to the new family dynamic. Michelle has been spending a lot of time helping Robert adjust to living alone and managing household tasks that Helen used to handle. Jake and I thought it was sweet that she was being such a supportive daughter during a difficult transition period for their father. But 3 weeks ago, I stopped by Robert's house to drop off some documents Jake needed him to sign for our mortgage refinancing. I used my key since Jake told me to just leave the papers on the kitchen counter if no one was home. I expected the house to be empty since it was a Tuesday afternoon. Instead, I walked in on Robert and Michelle in the living room in a situation that was definitely not father and daughter bonding time. They were both partially dressed, and it was immediately clear that they were having a sexual relationship. I was so shocked that I just stood there frozen for several seconds before quietly backing out of the house. I drove home in complete disbelief and nausea, trying to process what I just witnessed. My father-in-law and sister-in-law were having an incestuous affair, and apparently had been for who knows how long. The implications for Jake and the rest of the family were overwhelming to think about. I have been carrying this horrible secret for 3 weeks now, and it is eating me alive. I keep watching Jake interact normally with his father and sister, not knowing that they are betraying him and the entire family in the most disgusting way possible. Every family dinner and gathering feels like a nightmare of fake normalcy. The worst part is wondering if their affair was the real reason for Robert and Helen's divorce. Maybe Helen found out about the inappropriate relationship and could not handle staying married to someone who was involved with their own daughter. If that is true, then the whole family has been lied to about why the marriage ended. I also keep thinking about whether other family members might know or suspect what is happening. Robert and Michelle have been spending so much time together, and Jake just attributes it to them being close and supportive of each other. But now their interactions seem obviously inappropriate, and I cannot believe no one else has noticed. Jake talks about how proud he is that his father and sister have maintained such a strong relationship despite his parents' divorce. He says it shows that family bonds can survive any crisis, and that he admires how they have supported each other through difficult times. I feel sick every time he says these things. I know I have to tell Jake what I saw, but I am terrified about what this information will do to him and our marriage. Jake idolizes his father and has always been protective of Michelle as the baby of the family. Learning that they are having an incestuous affair will completely destroy his image of both of them. I am also worried about the impact on our extended family, including Jake's grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins who all adore Robert and Michelle. If this information comes out, it will destroy relationships and family gatherings forever. Some people might blame me for bringing this horrible truth to light, but I cannot continue pretending everything is normal when I know about this disgusting betrayal happening right under everyone's nose. Jake deserves to know the truth about his family, even if it is devastating and changes. Everything about our relationships with them should. I tell Jake immediately about his father and sister's affair, or try to gather more evidence. First, to make sure I am not misunderstanding what I saw. Oh, my God, this is absolutely horrifying, and I cannot even imagine how traumatic it must be to carry this secret around. While watching everyone interact like everything is normal, the fact that this might be why their parents really got divorced makes it even more devastating because the whole family has been living a lie. You definitely need to tell Jake as soon as possible because he deserves to know the truth about what kind of people his father and sister really are. This is not something you can unsee or pretend did not happen, and Jake will eventually find out one way or another. Better that he hears it from you than discovers it himself later, and wonders why you kept it secret. What an absolutely terrible situation for everyone involved. Thank you so much for sticking with us through all 13 of these wild family stories. We would love to hear your thoughts on these tales in the comments below. Which one shocked you the most or reminded you of your own family drama? Remember to check out the Google form in our description where you can submit your own Reddit stories for us to feature. All submissions will be read anonymously in upcoming videos, so do not worry about your privacy. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this content and want more incredible stories delivered straight to your feed. Good night, everyone, and sweet dreams.